Hello, 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 hello. Cool. That was a wacky morning to start. Sorry, everybody. I was planning on an 8 o'clock start, and they redid the platform, so I just had to kind of just jiggle some stuff around in my OBS program. But I am here. I am totally around the situation to make it all work right. So here we are. I got my video streams up. Okay, I want to jump straight into the fun. We are always discussing these things. Well, lately I'm going to start discussing these things, so I'm always discussing these things. This is just part and parcel to my repertoire I speak about. Coffee! Morning time. So I'm looking at future cities right here, everybody. I'm not going to go deep into looking into any of these specific sites that have these. We're just going to look at this for the sake of saying this is the concepts people have on a regular basis. This is what I see. A lot of cities with greenery all over the place. You know, they're just kind of like making it seem like, okay, we're going to go up and we're going to go green. That's kind of the direction. You know, you see these like really cool looking wacky cities, but I like this one over here, Future City YouTube, right here, the one that has like windmills and plateaus and levels and stuff. I mean, these things look. I'm gonna only say it as a precaution of the realism behind it. They're cute. A lot of these are just cute, super cute. So let's get up to the top here, and we're gonna go to. I want to go straight to like futuristic. So the futuristic ideas come from futuristic type people who create futuristic type worlds. And in this, you see kind of a classic design. I like this one right here, the water one. You know, has the things going down. A lot of problems with that, massively problematic as far as I'm concerned. I don't like when I see these. I love the way they look. They look gorgeous. But I don't like when I see these because I was in an aircraft carrier for a long time and we hit big things every once in a while. You just do. Big ships can't move fast, and in waters where things are moving as well, you're gonna hit stuff. And if anything hits this floating little wackatastic little futuristic city aquaria, which is, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's gorgeous, really is. I like that. The artist was doing wonderful. I like the bubbles along the camera line right here, so you can see that it's the water, but they put a little bit of bubbles like the camera's going underwater. Wonderful. You see cities where you see a lot of linear lines, a lot of stuff dangling. Like, what is that? A sideways something? I mean, I like them. They look neat. Like, you know, like I hear, you know, a lot of towers. They really want to shove us up in the air, which is very possible. I mean, I can't conceive why we wouldn't go up in the air. Flying car, putzing around. Like this one here, looks like a big Hot Wheels track / roller coaster. I mean, conceivably, you know, transportation, transport. I get it. It makes total sense. But that's another concept that we won't be flying, because this would be a non-flying world. Would you need all this gibberish racked up around? I mean, look at all that. Looks like a roller coaster. I'm gonna say, let's see how there it's that one right. That one. I'm pretty sure everyone can see what I'm doing. It just looks like a Hot Wheel track or a roller coaster. I see it all the time in many different futuristic versions of the world. A lot of piring pillory looking style buildings. So today I'm just going to do a little quick little. So we're going to look at these. Just doing a quick little flick through. And the reason why I want to do a flick through of them is I have kind of I've done this for years and years. I got books and books and books and books of me writing policies and future ideas and just something that passes my time. Sit at the coffee shop, think of some new ideas. So they have all these, here's like technology. Let's see what technology is. And then underwater, and then we'll get to it, and I'll show you guys. So technology, here's some water-based stuff where you're going to be in and out of water and land, which I like it. There's a lot to explore underwater, but once again, what we've done with the land, do we want to do under the water? Ooh, it's wacky. Floating cities, pods, collectives. It's safety. I think it's a lot safer that way. Yeah. So this is technology. Let's go back to the top again. I want to see what their specific underwater is because I don't know. I say stay away from areas that we don't need to be destroying because we will do it. It's just what we do. We're going to anchor things into things. We're going to shove metal rods into things. It's just what we do. Not everything needs to be done that way, and maybe in the future we'll learn how to design better, engineer things more accustomed to the natural. That looks neat on the bottom down here. I like that, but I mean, if you're seeing how little the boats are, they're conceiving these to be quite large. There you go, here's another one. A different form of people are going to come from this, though. I mean, give it enough time, if people do this, then we will start to develop nuances that would be very definitive to underwater people. Oh, those are underwater people. Look how blue they look. I mean, the first thing to go underneath the water is red light. The deeper you go, the faster you lose red. So that's why everything looks real blue. You just lose red real fast. I used to scuba dive, so it's, yeah, definitely. You would have something on your sleeve that was like a red band, and then you go underneath and it turns yellow. And you're like, whoa. Or like orange. It's kind of crazy. You just lose the red. It's gone. I think even the orange is gone too. I think if I go down with orange stuff, it turns yellow as well. Depending on how dark the red is, then you just get the hue of the dark, and that's it. It's crazy. So you'd probably get people losing red tone in them, which would be very interesting to see other ethnicities of all ethnicities of people losing their red tone in them. That would be crazy. Underwater, ocean. So, I think of it as pretty. I mean, if you go down low like this and you built to the ground floor, but once again, once we start doing that, we're just trashing things again. I mean, the natural world that was once there is pushed out. We don't want nasty things around us, so we're going to kick out all the natural stuff. And we don't know what the Lord of the Deeps are. Really, we don't. For all we know, all it takes is one giant squid to come into this city right here and just go rip the top of that thing off, eat everybody inside this, and then leave. I mean, we don't know. We don't know, really. We think we do. I mean, we have a lot of sonars. We have a lot of detectors. We have been detecting a lot of things for a long time. So maybe we do. Maybe we know more. Maybe I'm guessing. Oh, like this one. This one's pretty cool. Like a ball. Underwater Bubble City drone. Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, there we go. Right off the coast. These aren't that bad, I guess. Keeping us kind of coastal. I mean, there's a lot of life in the coastal regions, though. That's the thing. I mean, we would have to be living one with all this. Okay, so let's get to the fun. I went back to Future Cars just to check it again because it's going to play into today. Cool. So I'm trying to get things down to about 30 minutes, and I wanted to do the first 10. Kind of just looking up stuff. Oh, that's sweet. Zip dip. I love how they put a little extra kick on the movement, like the dude's booking at 90 here. This sucker's about ready to hop on the freeway. That looks tight. Caddy 2020. Look at this dude, though. Hey, goofball. Get off your carriage. sir, noticed your luggage was was going over the speed limit. We like to keep our luggage somewhere around 25 miles an hour. You was clearly going 115. How safe are self-driving cars? And they show a picture of the Back to the Future flying DeLorean. You know, there you go. We've already seen it. Marty McFly, Doc Brown. We know this works. Come on, guys. Well, how sweet. That's tight right there. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like some. I mean, I even like this little goofball, little wacky contraption. Come on, that thing's cute as hell. Drive that thing around the city. It's still cool. Still looks pretty tight. Okay. Ooh, Wackatronic. The flying motorcycle. See, I'm trying to get rid of the idea that the future flying thing is gonna almost have to not kick wind. I know that sounds crazy. There's ways to do things, folks. So, okay. I'm going to get into the next phase of this, and it's going to be... So I've done some stuff back in the past. No, I didn't want to lose all that, but I just did. Oh well. I will survive. So I got myself set up with my city of the future. And let me see, where am I? Okay, so I'm on these two. I didn't even read that one. Boom, and then pop up this squeezer. And then I went back to the vehicle of the future as well, which again, I have my own ideas toward things. So, yeah, pay attention to this page right here, folks. That's the reactor Motron of the future. So this is going to be the vehicle of the future. I put 4, technically 8 engines on this one, but they're just ridiculously designed for safety. Son of a turkey. So I have it set up to where these things are like cubes. Like each sheet is going to be just an corrugated, I don't know, steel and aluminum pressed together in such a way to create a living space. I'd have it to where, for the most part, you would have this thing would be mainly mobile, airborne vehicles. So I look at the future as being a unique entity of, like, you would be seeing clouds, but it wouldn't be clouds. It'd be just a city of people kind of connected. With that, I also can say in certain areas that are overly heated or areas that are overly cooled, these things can also be used to... People in these large groups can be used to maybe shade over areas for hot days. Hey, can your city come cruise over us and hover there for a little bit? But there are ways to link and connect them. But I've drawn multiple different versions of their connecting. Like, this is like the beginner pod right here. This is the one that you start with. When you are old enough, you leave your family. Build up the family centers. Partnership, I think I put for this one. This is the beginner pod. When you book out, yeah. So when you book out on your beginner pod, where you get the front section, the back, and take off. Then you connect when you start joining partnerships, family. However your partnership is. It's set for whoever wants to have their partnership, combining them, and then once you combine and become a partnership, married. I mean, for anybody. Marriage is for everybody now, which is good. And then full connections right here for like families. I mean, heck, let's just say a partnership, gay couple. They want to have more something else. They want to actually build an industry, a light industry. They don't need the space, or can adopt. Same thing. But what I'm saying is, if you don't have the inclination for children, which a lot of people don't, you can just turn it into a business. So you can start businesses alongside in these. So you can start a partnership with someone and then build a business out of it. I gotta smell my own breath. It's wonderful. But here's why I'm looking at the metal to be. Just kind of a corrugated look. And inside you just run all your stuff. You would just be able to open up these little contraption panels right here. And there's your plumbing, there's your everything. Everything is real easily to join, real easy to do, run things through it. Boom, boom, boom. And you just connect these up in joiner blocks. I think I have a whole thing on the joiners. But then once you start getting big enough, you can have trees, you can have animals, you can do stuff. These things will be very stable. When I say stable, I'm thinking about it as if there was a way for a vehicle to be able to push upward, downward. So it's going to be wanting to essentially push more than propel. So it's going to be pushing you around. If you put the pushers up and the pushers down, and you put it on 4 corners, so you're going to have pushers up and down on 4 corners. If you wanted to, you could fly to a spot, boom, push up hard, but put a little bit of downward thrust to keep you right there. Wind would hit you, it would be like you're stuck on the ground. So it would be very relative to the Earth's gravity as far as I can conceive, but for the most part, it would be a pretty solid lockdown into the 3-dimensional space. So you would be pulling and pushing at the same rate. And that way you can actually anchor yourself very solidly anywhere you want geographically on a GPS map. Hit the dot, say the height, boom, and you can and really stick yourself right there. Wind won't bother you, nothing will really make it. You would be a pretty solid entity. How about this? Almost to a dangerous point, which is why I want to make sure that these things are set up throughout the computer programming network of the FAA style setup that's international. Where people, when they do these things, it does sign to something saying there is an anchored individual right here, and there would probably have to be elevations that they can't go above or below. Like it would probably have to be within the 10,000 feet range is where I would have to say, because anything after that you're going to start to deal with also respiratory problems. Anyone anchoring them, if you go way too high, it's harder to breathe. But these people, though, I mean, the people that live in this kind of a condition over many, many years are going to start to develop the same thing that the people that make the big old journey up to the top of, what is it, Mount Everest? Where are they from? I can't remember where the people that are right there, but like the Sherpa people that always end up guiding them. They say their lungs, those people could just handle life in a whole nother way. I've seen tests where they bring these little Sherpa dudes in, and they bring in a bunch of scientists, and they start raising the altitude. And before you know it, everybody starts to get real loopy and starting to pass out, and they have to give them, they have to give them natural air again for them to start breathing. But the little Sherpa dude just chilling. They get that dude almost up to the space, and he's just like So these people that do live under these circumstances, they will develop a different lung set. It'll be interesting. I mean, this is going to be a whole other world. But once again, there's going to have to be allowability, and that's the thing. And really, it is government allowability. We have to all respect the fact that many governments through many years have done many things to create our life, good or bad. Some scary as hell, but once again, that's subjective to history. I mean, there's probably been some pretty tyrannical anything, and there's probably been much better governing bodies. So with this, there's going to be the ability for people to have a nice little comfortable lifestyle. Many people can have linkability. Like I said, if these engines will have the ability to move you pretty cleanly around in three-dimensional space, you're going to be able to link up almost via computer, and it's just they're gonna want to do their own thing. Wind is not going to be the factor everyone thinks it is, even though this is going to have trees on it and all the other stuff. If you put a proper amount of these engines on there, it will create, you won't have to contend with standard aviation as we know it. So, I'm just saving the engine for a whole other time. That's why I'm trying to lightly avoid it. I know you can go look back at the video and kind of zoom in if you want to. It ain't gonna make sense until I explain it proper. But, so here's like the living conditions kind of beefed up. I look at the central area as being the central area. Now I do put a dome on this and trees and stuff. So I would say, if done proper, you would probably have these set up to it's okay. So I have another drawing over here of a core where I think, this is just me, you're going to have motors doing things in this no matter what. You're going to have power being generated. You're going to have a power supply station. So I've designed this with a power supply station. The top and the bottom are going to be kind of opposite, moving inductive motors that run right underneath. I want to have a core tree. I just don't know why. I think a core tree, tap root down. I mean, I have it going all the way down. This is just a what? This is me goofing. This is goof. This is me just thinking. If you power this proper. So these are shocks right here that are going off, absorbers. And this is just, so these are like research vessels. I have a lot of these being more research vessels. So what I would say is, in order for you to have, to be, to essentially be an autonomous unit, so you would have your own, it can't be your own government, because I keep calling it something that I don't want to call it, so I'm trying to remove that, because it's not so much that, because everything has to fall under rules right now. There's too many of us. If we don't have rules, what do we have? It sounds like I'm giving in, but I'm not. But at the same time, there's no way you can sit around and say, if you have individuals who have their own vehicle, they have their multinational pass, multi-pass. Lilu. So you have your multi-pass, and you can go to specific places. Countries are going to be subjective once again, I think, within the next 100 years. Very subjective. I think there's an old vestige of people trying to fight for countries. And it's going to be more like placements within land that are still going to be just like countries, folks. Don't get me wrong. I know you have to have your borders, you have to have your this, that, and the other thing for culture and a lot of other things. Or it just has to be that. Has to be that. You get these people who fly around in these things, it's going to be a culture before you know it. The cloud people. They've been up there for freaking 50 years. They've kind of got their own religion. They're kind of their own people. They're real wispy looking. Breeze always blowing through their faces. There's going to be a different kind of people coming out of this. A different culture is going to form, a different way of thinking. They're going to have to know they have a place that's safe when they do have to land. And they're going to, then once again, there's going to become the allowability for true culture is a necessity. And people want to have historical culture, and those places are the most necessary. Out of anything in the whole universe, you got to make sure you have your ancestral cultural. Uh, that's a history that if that ever leaves, we're toasties or we're lost. How about that? We're just lost. But new cultures will arise. New things will appropriate. I mean, we just saw a whole bunch of underwater things. That's the underwater people. They don't have a lot of pigment. They're kind of look like a white dolphin. All of them smooth. They lost all their hair. No need for it. Who knows? They might grow more hair. They're like bushy, huge, bushy people. Who knows? So once again, give it a while where people live in these new world futures that are coming up, that you look around at them and you realize this is a whole nother way of living. See, these cloud people are going to be looking down on society. That's the kind of they're not going to have any way around it. The water people are going to be looking up for energy, for light. They're going to be doing a whole nother. They're going to have a three-dimensional world too, the water people, because they will. We're going to start. We need property. We need real estate. We do. If we start cramming ourselves everywhere, we'll destroy everything. My idea is to pull us kind of, sorry folks, out of normal cities, kind of clear them, kind of build a hyper city that is highly attractive, not at all unattractive. I've seen the horrible future, but a gorgeous hyper city where people live in towns, but they're more like bubbles and pods. I have them over here. Let me show you here, folks. Let me show you my idea. So, oh, I don't have the pod ones on this. What am I doing with the pods? Gosh dang this darn thing. I swear, every time. Oi. Okay. So, like an iceberg, most of our new world would probably be underground. But we'd minimize the pockmark on the planet by just going to one area. Now, the way I have these set up are much like the future things that we were looking at earlier, which I wish I would have kept up like a goon. I X'd it out all the way. I'm getting used to this. So there's, I have the future city. If you're going to be looking from aerial, which is right up above, to the flat view, you have hyperlinks that drop off and pop off and go to other major cities. That's what they do. Power supply, power's down low, like every major city should have. Power out of the way, power down low, so major power centers. If you go up to my up top version, you'd have water in many, many, many different places. I've redrawn this a few different times. I lost the book that had the greatest drawing I made of this one. Oh, that's the one I had the pods on it too. I lost a book that had some cool stuff. But I'm going to redraw this out. Might as well do it kind of for us all. I kind of want to use this one as a template, and I'm going to redraw it all out again. But so you look down right here, and you can see kind of down the core is, I have it broken up into 2 different areas, it kind of looks like, but in 4 different sections. You're going to have your intellectual, just all learning. Then you're going to have the median area between all working, intellectual / work. So it's like the contractors area, so like on-the-job training style areas. Then you're going to have your just straight work. People who fit the category of more work. These are very inclusive, very important people, each one attaining, I think, a fair amount of the same almost wage. Intellectual versus work, the reason why I have them on polar opposites is because I want this to be known. Everyone should recognize the importance of all, which we are right now in the situation that we're in with the badness. And we have to recognize that people who do the work don't need to have high education. But high education is important for people. There's some people who it just really works for them. So in this society here, I'd say this is your main schooling tower, really, where it's kind of like if you look down at my lower drawing, it's the main tower up on the center here. Your main schooling, your main learning. The kids are going to be able to go through this. This is going to be their growing up. Um, I lost a great drawing that had so many different versions of this, where these centers are all different. All the circles out in front, parks to this, to like some of these are building zones where they teach and build, and they actually a lot of people who will eventually go out and become outlining military, because I would see the outside of the red, which is the borders, are going to be probably outlined by our military forces alongside with the inner core, because that has to be there. So your armed forces would be more in the center. Your military would be more on the outside. Every city would probably have its own small system set up for it that would also serve probably a much larger cause. So you have all these areas which I would say stretch out not much further than I'm looking at. I mean, I was thinking, how long would this be? 30, 40 mile. So inside here, you'd have your city structures. So if you look in a little closer, I have all my areas kind of broken off, trees, a bunch of little dots for water. There's gonna be little parks everywhere. So these are the outlying cities that all connect up to one of the main areas. As you can see, they all kind of connect up and go into a quadrant of the area that you fit most or best at the moment. And in the middle, there is a learning kind of mecca of kids in school and learning and stores, coffee shops. Outwardly, you're going to have more of the, like, probably inside here would be mostly shopping and stuff for each of the main areas. I mean, if you're going to be a worker, you're going to want to know where the wood, the lumber, the this, the that. And and being able to go to the center easy and move outward again allows for movement, nice movement. Still allowing for a lot of just green space. These are like Central Park style parks within there. Each one has maybe a different thing. You can have a cricket pitch. You can have a lot of tennis courts over here. You can have soccer, a bunch of soccer. And then over here, you can almost mash all the American sports over here. You can put baseball and football. Because really, we've designed our playing fields to kind of mash into all. You put a couple of arenas in there. There you go. For American style of even kind of doing things, you can put just a big arena right there. That can double for everything. Put basketball. The courts we've designed, all of our courts flip-flop around and do 75 other things. Hockey can be in there. The water area, you can have all around, there would be water. As a matter of fact, there's a lot more than I have on this picture here, where there's going to be a lot more areas. Where, of course, I know it's going to sound bad, but you can have one salt, one fresh. Salt big enough to where it would be studies and research. A lot of people don't like to study and research, but without it, people tend to get a little bit pokey and proddy on the real life. If taken care of properly, you can have a real nice, natural setup for creatures of all walks of life living amongst some of these parks. I'd say 2 of these parks are probably more for humans. 2 of these are probably more for nature. So we would have a nice nature park. It would technically kind of be a zoo, but it would also be for resources in case anything goes triple down, hardcore, super bad, like we're living in kind of right now. Hey, all goes bad. I know everyone would hate to hear it, but that's sustenance for living. We would be self-containable. So the red areas between here and here, these are the hyperlinks that go out. So this is your main police areas. These were the police are pretty much primary. These are all precincts, north, south, east, and west precinct. These are the red zones. If the perp gets out, they can shut this whole red zone down in a matter of seconds. closing down all traffic in and or out of an area. These are all a bunch of tubes. I kind of did draw like a bunch of lines, but I think of it as just hundreds of tubes. Some are open areas. Some are designed to move you in your flying car. Some are meant to then link you into a track, where then you link onto a track and then you take off on a nice track. So, along with these hyper cities, I think that a lot of flying cars can be then brought into these. You would fly your hypercar into a nice landing area where it would link into some sort of track system, and then it would. So that way, a lot of these areas that people don't want people flying for governmental reasons, that is just safe. Let's say the area is national property for for tribes that are like, yeah, come on, we don't need this. This is crazy. We're trying to live tribally, naturally, the way our ancestors did. It's very important for us, and we have a super freeway over our head. That ain't real. So there may be areas even shut down for tribal land's sake, which I think that would be phenomenal. Pull people out of tribal lands that they don't need to be in, put us into hyper cities, and then allow for us to be able to move. Like I said, I'm trying to readjust the verbiage for the vehicle that I want to say sovereign, but you really no one's, because every time you need to land, you're sovereign in the air, I guess. It's kind of like saying when you go out to sea, the landscape, the way you do things changes. I did have another thing that I was going to do in this segment. Maybe I'll save it for later if I do get on a later segment. I'm going to try to do it 2 o'clock again, where I want to talk about a little more of like some congressional stuff, because I was looking into some I had it on my thing, but I have my iPad right here. Congress may love flying cars, but the skies still need traffic cops. This is a Wired ad. Or Wired, not ad. Well, hell, it's an ad. Everything's an ad now. Let's not mess around, folks. Darn these ads. Oh! Okay. Yeah, because you know what it is? They're just saying the same thing. Where's the traffic cops? Do we have traffic cops set up for this? Do we have? But like I said, if we give up control to it, really the traffic cops are going to be a unique thing, because there really is not going to be need for traffic cops so much as a in-flight guidance system that may be there to help individuals where maybe their vehicles are. So I'm looking at these flying cars that they're showing, and it's like these weird pods that look like a police car, but there's no really need for a police car, I wouldn't say. Skies still need traffic cops. So I don't think they will. I think you're going to be giving up a lot of your control. I think you're going to have to be in the air. To be able to fly and move so much easier, which people are giving up control in the most uniquely crazy ways that don't really make sense to me. So this is one that I look at as being a small version of it. The thing is yeah, if all of a sudden they don't like you, they could just fly you to a police station, and there you are. So you just have to know that. If you are a bad guy, you're flying in a car, transportation, all done. You're going to be on foot there, Geronimo, taking off and trying to, do you on a footpath. That's all it can be. And I don't mind that so much. Be a bad guy, do it on foot. So I see it as kind of a proper give and take. As you can see, I do have my farm areas. These are all farming areas, all of this. Different growing operations. So I have my growing yards over here, different styles. Circular, along with rows and rows of them. Outside of the walls, crops can be made right along the outside of the walls that are good for separating us to nature, and then from there having a few road out style crops going out, maybe just non-destructive crops going out that would work decent within the trees and forests that wouldn't, like I said, wouldn't be highly destructive. And then to go down, you get to see how I kind of under the ground that you can't see get to show, you know, hyperlinks going down to portions of the city where people are probably going to be living underground. There's probably going to be a lot of people with capability of living underground. And really, it's going to be mostly kind of like right where these things, right where my tubes stop, I was kind of figuring it as like we're livable. Everything else down here is going to all be industry. All industry. Massive amounts of industry. So I have all these kind of corkscrewing looking things like a screw thread, is because I wanted it to look like a screw thread where people are probably having to travel around this thing to transport, to get transports up to, let's say, just this level here, where then they can you know, then take a speed path up and then into town. Because really this right here is the reason why I wanted water, the reason why I wanted so much water, the reason why I wanted there to be a large amount of water, is because if they ever needed to drop down all the water into the reactor. So if things start going south, all the critters can be brought into a central core area where they can just be kept, and then just dump the water from all over the place straight down into the reactor. Or whatever's down underneath. I'm calling it a reactor because that would make the most sense. That's just what would make the most sense. A clean running nuclear reactor that just has that level of safeguard. So all water sources could just suddenly just drain out of the whole city down to the reactor. Yeah, so everyone would have to probably have their, you know, they would probably say, everyone fill up, you know, X amount of gallons. We are going to go full reactor meltdown. Everything's going to happen real quick. When we dump the water, everything will drain. So everyone clear, and then boom. So that's me saying that's the way to have a hypercity. Power galore. Because you'd keep it so tight and dense in a nice area that a decent set of reactors would be able to efficiently run the whole thing. Efficiently. Highly efficiently. A lot of gigawatts goes out to sending stuff because we have so much area. We've just covered so much that we don't need to cover. We can reduce our coverage, bring us into a tighter, cleaner, nicer area. And there's still going to be quite a bit of, there's still living spaces like everywhere around here if you look at it. There's just, on top of my little red here, you can have a city on top of this. City on top of this. City on top of this. Inside, you can have cities that are just sparse. Some cities are going to be dense. Some areas are going to be next to the farmland, more next to these farmland areas. And if that's the case, they're going to be farm dense. But I'm just showing a possible city. So if you notice, I don't have it set up as, you know, this is in this state right here. Because really, it's more like, here's what I see. Eventually, we are going to realize that we have plumbing in the ground. Everyone's got a ground rod shoved into the ground. So excess power is constantly being dumped into the earth around us, folks. No one knows, like, no one pays attention to that. That you have a ground. Where do you think power's going when it's just not sitting there? Like, has to go somewhere. So a lot of your power, we are dumping just an amazing amount into the earth. We could change that. It would change the balance of the planet, like almost on a pH level. It would almost change it to where it would almost alchemically want to be a lot healthier, which is the way it is. It's not like a worse thing. But we have plumbing in the ground. We have septic tanks. We kind of create a unique amount of, through progress. It's not like we're just all a bunch of evil people, because we're not. We're just, hey, I need a home. I grew up like this. What are you talking about? No, I'm not bad. Of course you're not. What I'm saying is there can be better. So these hyper cities, if they were nice enough, constant work, I mean, really, they would be small town in a major city. That's what I see. You would have areas where you would just kind of you would look over and you would see the big city. Oh, there's the big city right there. There's north, there's south, there's east, there's west over there. Those are like little cities as well. But it would be closer, and you live in the suburbs of it. I mean, along the hyper routes. So this is the very end right here. I drew the very end of one of these red areas right here. So this is like this. I mean, like I said, you can see I put a little city kind of popping up there. And at the very end of the red line, you can see I put a little city popped up right here. So there's just city. It would be neat. Really neat. Most people would probably like, do this. This is great. Our footprint's low. I live in a great home. Entertainment's right over there. And if anything does go wrong, you hyperlink out, man. Boom, you're out. Each one of these tubes and tunnels. So if something does outbreak right here, all these people here can just be gone quick. And then, quarantine the area. So I'm just saying there's a lot of ways to look at these and say, how could these things go? And I was also looking at these cities to where there's an easy way to have pretty decent control of the environmental airspace. Meaning, if you move air ever so lightly and you're actually cleaning the air, which there's easy ways to do that, I think, in these kind of lightly condensed setups. You're going to be able to reduce a lot of needless driving and consumption through just being close enough to walk there. Even so much as saying, I'm thinking some of these areas, some of these tubes are going to be like walking tubes, but you're slowly speeding up in these walking tubes. Like when you go to the airport and you hop on those little walking things and you get booking on those suckers. So you can move people decently fast. I mean, if you think about how fast you're moving, that's faster than running, almost. I've seen people when they're running, and if I'm walking at a decent pace on those things, I'm booking past them. So that's modes of transportation that would be a lot more available in places like this. If you're going to say from here to here, these are walking, super walking paths. Here. You'd have map at your disposal. Cities would stack, but in a unique way, as little bubbles. I have drawn these neat little bubbles where if you stack homes easily right, so much room in it. I think I was looking at like 2,400 square feet. You'd have 2 stories, 2,400 square feet of these gorgeous homes where if these cars are able to fly, you would be able to drive your company vehicle, which everyone would be just driving more like a company vehicle. Like, what do? You're a garbage person? Cool. This is the vehicle you're going to fly. Because it's going to be able to take you to your work, and then you start using it on your job. That's the way I see it. I mean, luxuries are still going to be there. People are still going to be rich. Corruption's still going to be there, and people are still going to have way more than they should in very specific areas. Some of these will be considered the high-end areas, some will be low. It's the way it always goes. But at least it's in an area that is a lot more containable. And that's all I can say, because I would love to say controllable, but people hate that word, but that's what it is. For anyone who thinks that they are autonomous are crazy. I'm an individual. No, you're not. You're interdependent. You live amongst us as a society. If you didn't make the clothes you wear thoroughly, the food you eat thoroughly, you are not independent. You are interdependent. We are using each other for help, guidance, and sustenance. That's what we are here for. That's why we work better as a tribe. And with that, I don't see independence. I see interdependence. And how do we successfully become interdependent, allowing us to have that feeling we do need of independence, which is very, very required. So I know it sounds like I just shot down my one idea and then said it's there again, but no, there is independence. The person within you, the thing that you're talking to within yourself, that is you. But the things around you are your interdependency amongst the society and world. So, how do we interdependently live with the earth? How do we interdependently live amongst each other? How do we interdependently live in our city? How do we interdependently live in our lives? And how do we live our lives independently? Booyah. That's what I say. Cheers. I want to drink the rest of my coffee before it's cold. I'm done, and I will come back at a later time. Everybody, have a good time. Enjoy the goodness of the day, and I will see you later.